evening. In the news tonight, the city of Vincennes is awaiting word tonight on the success of an Ohio company's efforts to purchase the bankrupt Vincennes Steel Corporation. And the bill is making progress in the Indiana legislature that would require public schools to offer healthy food to students.
In sports, Vincennes Lincoln emerged as the only Knox County school to win on the opening night of the boys' high school sectionals.
Newscenter 22 is next. No word yet on the fate of Vincennes Steel. An Ohio contractor faces a midnight deadline to work out the details of purchasing the bankrupt company and saving its 70 jobs and $3.5 million annual payroll. Knox County Attorney Bruce Smith said today that the paperwork granting Vincennes Steel a 25% break on its back taxes has been completed. He says the county treasurer, auditor, and assessor have agreed to the tax break. The company owes about $190,000 in back taxes. Coco Sink Construction of Fredericktown, Ohio, a one-time customer of Vincennes Steel, wants to purchase the company. However, acting Vincennes Steel CEO Bob Bosser said earlier this week that a number of issues must be settled before midnight tonight. That's the deadline set by the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for completing the deal. In addition to the break on back taxes, Bosser says the company must settle matters with investors, creditors, and employees. Vincennes Steel closed in January. On Monday, Coco Sing invited them back to reapply for their jobs. Bosser says if the deadline is not met, the property and equipment must be liquidated. If successful, he says work could almost begin immediately. The investigation into the disappearance and death of an Indiana University student is being turned over to a grand jury. Morgan County Prosecutor Steve Soniga says he decided on the approach because witnesses would be under oath and the proceedings will be secret. 19-year-old Jill Bierman never returned home from a bike ride on May 31, 2000. A hunter and his son found her body near three years later near a town of Paragon, about 15 miles north of Bloomington. Over the past 6 years, police have tracked leads, including a theory that a motorist struck Bierman. Authorities still hope to identify witnesses who may have seen Bierman the day she disappeared. Jurors are back for a second day of deliberating whether a former Indiana State Trooper is guilty of killing his wife and 2 children. The Warwick County Circuit Court jury failed to reach a verdict after 12 hours of deliberations on Tuesday. David Cam has maintained his innocence. He left the state police several months before the murders. Governor Daniels says Indiana consumers can expect to see changes in telecommunications services, including longer prices for cable and lower and other services. Daniels says he'll sign a telecommunications deregulation bill approved yesterday by the General Assembly. The bill frees telephone companies from state regulations and changes the way cable industry works. Daniels and other supporters say the bill will spur high-speed internet development in Indiana by eliminating the regulations that have kept phone companies out of the broadband market in the past. They claim more competition among phone, cable, and internet providers will keep prices low while expanding voice, video, and internet choices for consumers. State Representative Troy Woodruff of Vincennes voted against the bill. He says the changes will be helpful to large telephone companies, but not to many Hoosiers in poor neighborhoods and rural areas. Woodruff says he fears large rate increases will probably be an immediate result of the legislation, which should be concerned to seniors and those on a fixed income. Indiana lawmakers had a busy day on Tuesday. Among other things, the House passed a bill requiring Indiana schools to offer healthier foods choices in vending machines and cafeterias. The bill would require that half of foods in school vending machines would include things such as water, fruit, and baked potato chips. Schools would also have to create health advisory councils and provide some physical activity for elementary students. Governor Daniels' highway plan is likely to end up in a House-Senate conference committee. The highway bill passed the House and a revised version is now before the Senate, where a vote is expected this week. The Senate committee has removed some provisions that appeased Republicans in the House and helped nudge the bill to pass in that narrowly divided chamber. The bill would allow the governor to lease the Indiana Toll Road. A provision in the Senate version would require Daniels to get legislative approval before he can make any additional highways or bridges tollways. Democrats say the toll road lease is a risky financial deal. The Indiana House voted down legislation Tuesday that was aimed at making Indiana a so-called right-to-work state where employees could not be required to join labor unions at their workplaces. Opponents say the bill was aimed at destroying unions and would lead to lower wages and fewer benefits. The right-to-work proposal came up for a vote just hours after Republican Governor Mitch Daniels touted the support some labor unions were giving to his concessions plan to lease the Indiana toll road. The Indiana Senate had unanimously approved a revised version of a bill that would limit the ability of local governments to seize private property and turn it over to private businesses. The bill would have to go back to the House to approve the Senate's changes. The House voted unanimously Tuesday for a bill that would make a disorderly funeral protest a felony offense. The bill covers conduct within 500 feet of a funeral, burial, funeral procession, or viewing. It stems from protests by a Kansas-based group at the funeral of Indiana soldiers. Members of the Westboro Baptist Church claim that soldiers are dying in Iraq because the United States supports homosexuals. The bill was amended yesterday, so it would take effect immediately if the Senate concurs with the change the Governor Mitch Daniels signs into law. Lawmakers hope it takes effect before a funeral next week for a soldier from Kokomo. Sergeant Ricky Jones of the 101st Airborne Division was killed in Iraq. House Speaker Brian Bosma says he believes the legal fight over limiting prayers in the Indiana House will be decided by the U.S. Supreme Court. The Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals is refusing to temporarily lift a judge's order banning prayers during House proceedings from mentioning Jesus Christ or endorsing any particular religion. Bosma had asked the Court of Appeals to set aside the order until it hears his appeal, but a three-judge panel turned him down today. Bosma says he's disappointed but not surprised. The appeals court says the case involves the internal proceedings of a legislative body and deserves additional review. But the ruling says Bosma didn't meet a legal burden to put the order on hold until the appeal could be heard. Two soldiers at Fort Riley, Kansas are facing charges in the death of a 20-year-old private from Marengo, Indiana. Private First Class Donald Compton was killed in a training exercise in January. One of the two soldiers is charged with involuntary manslaughter, dereliction of duty, and negligent discharge of a firearm. The second is charged with dereliction of duty. A Bicknell man will spend time on electric home monitoring for possession of chemical precursors used in the manufacture of methamphetamine. 21-year-old Christopher Benson pleaded guilty to the charge in Knox County Superior Court 1 Tuesday afternoon. Judge Tim Crawley sentenced Benson to 18 months in the Department of Corrections and then suspended the sentence to 12 months on electronic home monitoring and 6 months on former probation. Benson was arrested in September 2003 after attempting to flee state police who were investigating illegal drug activity on Anderson Pit Road. Ohio-based AK Steel has locked out 2,700 workers at its plants in Ohio, Indiana, and Pennsylvania. Their old contract ran out at midnight, and the company says there's been no agreement on a new one. No talks are scheduled. New research shows Indiana ranks among the nation's worst states in its efforts to reduce unplanned pregnancies. The study by the nonprofit Guttmacher Institute is the first to rank all 50 states and the District of Columbia on access to contraceptive care. The study shows that about half of the 6 million pregnancies in the United States each year are unintended and result in about 1.3 million abortions. The National Advocacy Group's report card says Indiana's treatment of mentally ill residents ranks among the worst in the nation. The National Alliance of Mental Illness, or NAMI, gave Indiana a grade of D-, which placed it ahead of only 10 states. Specific criticisms are directed at lengthy waiting lists for community services and lack of negation. Still to come on Newscenter 22, President Bush says the U.S. won't cut and run from Afghanistan, and at least 30 people have died today in violence in Iraq. Stay with us.
The public is invited to attend Meet Your Legislators on Saturday, March 25th at 9 a.m. in Davis Hall on the Vincennes University campus. The forum will include information from area legislators, followed by a question and answer session. Viewers can phone in their questions the day of the show to 812-888-5334 or send your email questions to wvut@vinu.edu. Our live broadcast begins at 9 a.m. The show will be rebroadcast that same day on WVUT at 5 p.m.
A working lunch with Afghanistan's Prime Minister, a ribbon-cutting ceremony at the new U.S. Embassy, and a speech to U.S. troops at Bagram Air Base. Those were among the highlights of today's first visit by a U.S. president to Afghanistan since the U.S. forced the Taliban out of power following 9/11. During his stop in Afghanistan today, President Bush said he remains confident that Osama bin Laden will eventually be brought to justice. And he said there has been progress in the war on terror. Bush told American troops the U.S. will not blink when it comes to support for a new Afghan government. One English-language newspaper in India proclaimed that relations between India and the U.S. will soar during President Bush's visit, but not everyone in India is happy to see him. As he headed to New Delhi following a stopover in Afghanistan today, tens of thousands demonstrated there, chanting "Death to Bush" and calling him a bully. It looks like it will be next week before the House will take up the renewal of the Patriot Act. The Senate voted today to add more limits on government powers in the anti-terror law. Two top Democrats say the limits aren't enough. The House took the measure off its agenda for the day. A powerful group of Sunni clerics is calling on Iraqis to defend their mosques, saying the government is incapable of acting to stop the violence. Bombings in and around Baghdad have killed at least 30 people today, and an attack on the police convoy killed 2. Saddam Hussein and his co-defendants are disputing documents put forward by prosecutors outlining the executions of Shiites in the 1980s. The chief prosecutor today showed a series of documents outlining the operation behind a crackdown that resulted in 148 executions and nearly 400 imprisonments in 1982. They followed an attempt on Saddam's life. Saddam says the allegedly incriminating documents only show an informing operation run by regime members. Today's session lasted about 4 hours before the judge adjourned the trial until March 12th. The U.S. government is stocking up on more bird flu drugs. The government is buying more Tamiflu for the nation's stockpile. It already has enough drug to treat about 5 million people. Today, it ordered enough to treat another 12.5 million. The drug can lessen the severity of bird flu. The suspect in the shooting death of a police officer in central New York has been gunned down in Pennsylvania. 36-year-old Walter Richardson was killed in a gunfight with U.S. Marshals after barricading himself in a house in Chester, Pennsylvania, outside Philadelphia. A wounded marshal was treated at the scene. The slain officer, 30-year-old Joseph Kaur, was shot and killed Monday night in pursuit of 2 suspects in a jewelry store holdup. Richardson was identified as the shooter. Officer Kaur was wearing a bulletproof vest. The fatal shot hit him in the neck. California investigators say a plane stolen by 2 14-year-old boys made a crash landing after running out of gas. The teenagers suffered only minor injuries. The plane belonged to one of the boys' parents. Authorities say the teens were trying to run away from home. Do you know more about The Simpsons or the First Amendment? A new poll shows only about a quarter of Americans can name one of the 5 freedoms guaranteed by the First Amendment. However, more than half of them can name at least 2 members of the cartoon family. Good news for parents who stop at McDonald's for the kids and then swing by a Starbucks for a decent cup of coffee. McDonald's is about to offer premium coffee that's stronger and more expensive. The fast food chain will start pouring the new brew at all 14,000 of its American restaurants next week. The Java is roasted in California and will cost about $1.20 for a 12-ounce cup. That's about a dime less than a small cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts and 30 cents less than the same size coffee at Starbucks, which calls its version tall. McDonald's President Mike Roberts says the objective is to increase both coffee and breakfast sales. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Michael Nice checks out the latest weather for the Wabash Valley.
Tune into WVUT this Wednesday night. At 8, the conclusion to Windsor Castle, A Royal Year, examines Prince Philip's role as the ranger of the Great Park, a position he has held more than 50 years. At 9, Monty Python's Personal Best offers skits featuring John Cleese and his favorite moments from the classic series. Terry Gilliam's favorite moments are the focus of another episode at 10, Wednesday night on WVUT.
Well, Michael, today was a great day for sunglasses and flip-flops.
Well, that's right, Kristen. Certainly a time to dig out the spring clothes from the bottom of the drawer. Good evening, everybody. Great day today and a great way to start off our March. As we go outside currently here in Vincennes, we have partly cloudy skies. Sunny skies earlier, some clouds starting to move in. Now, as we do get March started off, I would like to say that this is the time of the year for some severe weather popping up, some of those isolated thunderstorms as we get this warmer weather in season. Also, tornado season is in effect, so keep an eye on that and watch the skies. Currently, though, we have 73 degrees, winds are south at 13 miles per hour, humidity 49%, and the barometer just under 30 inches and falling. Conditions around our area, we do have some clouds moving in. Over in Wheatland there at 74 degrees, down in Decker 73 degrees, Edwardsport 72, and over in Bridgeport, Illinois, they're also at cloudy skies and 73 degrees. Now, temperatures nationally, well, we can see that they're very warm. Down around the southern part of the United States, we have 90 degrees, lower 90s for much of the Red River Valley around Oklahoma City and Dallas, Texas. So that's very warm for them. They're actually under a heat advisory. Now, if we go up to the north, they still have some mild temperatures up there. The very cold conditions are up in the northeast, around the northeastern seaboard. Single digits for northern Maine, lower teens for Massachusetts around Boston. They can't quite escape that cold just yet. If we go look at our weather out west, well, the surface map will show that we have high pressure over the west coast right now. Yesterday they had all those storms and they're starting to recover from that, although they are going to get pounded once again with some rain and some mountain snow, as out in the Pacific Ocean there is a new low pressure system beginning to pull its way into the United States, and it's going to bring them tonight and tomorrow some more rain showers, especially up in the northern part of the west coast. If we go over to the east, though, we can see we still have high pressure over Florida, creating good, beautiful weather for much of the Gulf Coast. And the northeast, they actually are going to have some snow tonight and a rain mix for the southern part of the northeastern corridor, so looking out for that. Low pressure centered over the southern plains region. That's what we're keeping an eye on for here in the Wabash Valley. Over the nighttime, this low pressure is going to move its way over our area, and that's going to bring a chance for some isolated thunderstorms. Nothing really severe, but just some rain possible. Some of those pop-up thunder showers are going to happen. We're also going to have a little bit of a cool down as that cold front it's associated with moves on through. So taking a look at our forecast for tonight, isolated thunderstorms around the area, not very powerful or lasting too long, low of 44 degrees. Tomorrow, sunny skies, though, a little bit cooler at 52 degrees. For your tomorrow night, clear skies, low of 29, so really getting chilly. Your extended forecast, sunny skies for Friday, 46 degrees. Some clouds moving in for Saturday. And on Sunday, we do have a chance for some possible snow late Saturday night, early Sunday, turning into rain for Sunday afternoon. So, Kristen, let's look at your weather.
Thank you, Michael. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Amy Reef runs down Tuesday night's sectional winners and losers, and Indiana-Purdue renew their college hardwood rivalry tonight in West Lafayette.
God is my witness. I'll never be hungry again.
Listen, Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want.
Hollywood big shots make movies entertaining, but see how Hollywood's production designers make movies look real.
Every location, every set, every vehicle, every device, every prop.
The hidden art of Hollywood.
You'll love it.
Alice's survive in advance. Good evening, everyone. For TV 22 Sports, I'm Amy Reef. Craig Hines scored 18 points to help lead Vincennes Lincoln past Jasper 53-46 on the opening night of the Washington boys sectional. The Alices held a 16-point lead before the Wildcats mounted a comeback behind Luke Schmidt. The Notre Dame football recruit scored 13 of his 15 points in the second half as Jasper eventually cut Lincoln's lead to 3 points. Lincoln then eventually put the game away at the foul line, netting 12 of 15 attempts for the game. The Alices will play Princeton in Friday night's sectional semifinals. The Tigers had to go to overtime to beat Pike Central 65-63 in Tuesday night's other first-round game. Meanwhile, the news wasn't as good for two other Knox County teams. At Paoli, Mitchell eliminated South Knox 62-42. The Blue Jackets jumped out to a 16-point halftime lead and then put the game away by outscoring the Spartans 16-11 in the third quarter. Jeremy Hollis tallied 14 points to lead South Knox. Mitchell will play Linton in Friday night's sectional semifinals. The Miners advanced with a 56-39 win over Paoli. At the Class A Lagoti sectional, Vincennes Reveille fell to the host Lions 69-44. Heath Bilski scored 15 points to lead the Patriots. Bar Reef sidelined Shoals 66-51 in Tuesday's other sectional opener. The Vincennes University men's basketball team is ranked 17th in the final NJCAA poll of the season. Howard College of Texas drew all 16 first-place votes and is the top team again this week, followed by Northwest Mississippi, which moved up from third place after last week's number 2 team, Chipola, Florida, was upset by 14th-ranked Tallahassee, Florida. The Trailblazers, who were ranked as high as 13th this season, will host Kirtland, Michigan in a one-game Region 12 tournament contest on Monday, March the 6th. If the Blazers win, they could host the one-game district playoff on Tuesday, March 14th against the Iowa region champion. The VU Lady Blazers will host the 3-team women's Region 12 tournament next Thursday and Friday, March 9th and 10th. Monroe College of Rochester, New York will play Cincinnati State at 6 p.m. on Thursday. VU drew the bye and will play the winner in the championship game on Friday, March the 10th at 6 p.m. The winner will also host the district playoff. In top 25 college basketball action last night, James Augustine had 16 points, 10 rebounds, and a career-high 7 assists to lead 10th-ranked Illinois to a 71-65 victory over Minnesota. The win keeps the Fighting Illini in the race for the Big Ten title. Dee Brown scored 14 points and Rich McBride had 12 for Illinois, which trails Ohio State by half a game for the conference lead. Illinois finishes the Big Ten regular season at Michigan State on Saturday. What's a better way to start March in Indiana than a basketball game between the Hoosiers and the Boilermakers? Indiana plays at Purdue tonight as they try to keep alive their hopes for a spot in the NCAA tournament. Meanwhile, Notre Dame is at Providence. Turning to the NBA, Ray Allen scored 33 points and Seattle held off the New Orleans Hornets 114-104. Seattle won for just the third time in its last 13 games. The Sonics led by 23 in the third quarter before the Hornets pulled within 3 late in the game. But the Sonics scored 15 of the final 23 points to win easily. Rashard Lewis added 25 for the Sonics, who had all 5 of their starters score in double figures. Kobe Bryant tallied 28 points and handed out 8 assists to lead the Los Angeles Lakers over Orlando 102-87. The Lakers have beaten the Magic on their last 9 trips to LA. Smush Parker added 17 points and 7 assists for the Lakers. Lamar Odom had 8 points and 12 rebounds, as well as 5 assists. Grant Hill led the Magic with 23 points. NFL owners have set up a meeting for tomorrow to try to find labor peace before the start of free agency. The owners will try to find a way to reach an agreement with the players' union that could add $10 to $15 million to the 2006 salary cap. Without an agreement, some teams could be forced into wholesale cuts to get beneath the salary cap by midnight tomorrow. Free agency starts Friday. The Indianapolis Colts will have 2 more players back next season, linebacker Gary Brackett and tight end Ben Utecht. Brackett agreed to a multi-year deal, a source close to the situation told the Associated Press today. No financial terms were disclosed. Brackett was a first-time starter this season and led the team with 131 tackles. The new Indianapolis Colts Stadium will be known as Lucas Oil Stadium. Colts officials unveiled the new name this afternoon. The deal between the Colts and California-based Lucas Oil will have the company paying more than $120 million over 20 years starting in 2008. Although the company is based in California, owner Forrest Lucas is from Indiana. Lucas Oil is most widely known for producing lubricants for the auto racing industry. Pete Sampras has signed up for the World Team Tennis Pro League more than 3 years after his last competitive match. The 34-year-old Sampras tells the Associated Press the decision to play is more about getting himself a little busier and focused on something he used to be good at. And Kristen, that's a look at sports.
Thanks, Amy. Still to come on Newscenter 22, the new James Bond is ruffling the feathers of some die-hard fans of 007. Stay with us.
What kind of python are you?
Come on, you worm!
Oh no! If you're a medical professional,
My brain hurts! It'll have to come out!
outstanding in your field,
Also a writer of humor and...
and you enjoy fish slapping, then you may be a John Cleese. Find out on Monty Python's Personal Best.
Maybe you've heard about the new James Bond, but you may not have heard about the frightening rumors that the latest 007 is seen as a wimp. Here's Jeannie Mose.
When your name is Bond,
Who are you?
Bond. James Bond.
you've got a lot to live up to.
Remember, I know all about you, 007. Sex for dinner, death for breakfast.
But what happens if you're lunch? The new James Bond is being eaten alive by the press.
People are calling him the blonde Bond shell. He's just a blonde shell of a Bond.
Bond's bad luck was the headline in Us Weekly. It started the moment he was introduced, arriving by boat.
Oh, James Bond wearing a life jacket? Give me a break.
That other James Bond steered his own boat, dodging bullets, and actor Daniel Craig is perhaps a little too honest.
Well, I'd like to thank the Royal Marines for bringing me in like that, and scaring the out of me, but...
Now filming of Casino Royale has started, and in his first fight scene, Craig's two front teeth reportedly got knocked out.
His dentist had to be flown in from London.
Then the new Bond got shafted by the stick shift of that classic Aston Martin. You know, he got in the Aston Martin and he couldn't drive a stick shift.
Well, that's just not right.
The Chicago Sun-Times asked, isn't this just required guy knowledge passed on with how to open a bottle of wine or how to operate a gas grill? Do you think a guy should already know how to drive a stick shift?
I would should know how to drive everything.
And to think Pierce Brosnan managed to drive upside down. Maybe Craig needs that gizmo that lets Bond drive from the back seat.
He's ugly to be James Bond. He's not handsome. I mean,
I think he's handsome.
If you lined up all the other James Bonds with him, would he be your first or second choice?
Could it get any pettier?
Well, we also are hearing that he has shaved his chest.
Contrast that with furry Sean Connery. One British tabloid called Craig Ow Ow 7, saying he got a nasty bout of prickly heat after getting sunburned while filming in the Bahamas. None of this, by the way, has been confirmed by Craig's press reps. And then there's the anti-Craig website, Craig Not Bond.
Ouch.
It calls for a boycott of the new Bond movie. It morphs Craig's face into one of the Three Stooges, into Neanderthal Man, and compares his looks to the Riddler. Past Bonds have come to the rescue, saying what a fine actor Craig is, but people are still sticking that gear shift to him. 007 may have a license to kill, but it's his license to drive that's killing him. Ah! Jeannie Mose, CNN, New York.
And that's all for this evening. Join us again tomorrow. For Michael Nice and Amy Reef, I'm Kristen Miller. Good night.